Very, very excited about today's episode of the On Friar podcast brought to you by NBC 7. If you like pitching, if you like the Padres staff, if you're curious about some of the new guys, their offerings, the mechanics, pitch grips, sequencing, all that good stuff, we're going to get into it. Apologies if you want 45 minutes to an hour on Xander Bogaerts and whether he should no longer be in the leadoff spot or whether he should get a standing ovation at Petco Park this weekend. This isn't that episode. We'll save that for another time, but really, really excited about the chat that we're going to have with Rob Friedman, who you likely know as Pitching Ninja on all social media platforms, who does just such a phenomenal job offering great insight, tracking these guys, and he's really contributed to making pitching sexy again. And we've had him on before, had a great chat, and looking forward to picking his brain on Padres rotation, a Padres staff that has a lot of new arms and certainly a lot of questions and a lot to get to. So looking forward to doing that with Rob, and Derek should be joining us at some point. He's out on assignment at the moment, but he should be dropping in. And so it should be a great chat. Thanks for being with us. If you're watching on YouTube, get in the chat. Hit us with your questions. We'll be sure to pass them on to Rob, and appreciate you watching. Appreciate you listening, whatever your platform of choice is. And appreciate OG's, the sponsor of the On Friar podcast. They are always updating their menu. Great food, an awesome beer list, and a great place to watch a game. So if it's the Padres, NBA playoffs, golf on the weekends, whatever your sport of choice is, OG's is a great place to catch the games and have a great meal and enjoy some really good beers as well. Without further ado, the walk-up music. It is the On Friar podcast. No time to waste. Let's jump right into it. Rob Friedman, Pitching Ninja. I can't remember. We had you on a couple years ago, and I've been wanting to get you back on ever since. And you're kind enough to make some time for us. How you doing?
I'm doing great. That intro goes hard. I like it.
I appreciate you're nodding your head along a little bit.
Oh, definitely.
So I appreciate that. And great to catch up with you again. Obviously, a very, very busy man. It seems like all year long, but certainly now. What's the first few weeks of the season? How's it treated you so far?
I'm tired. I'm already tired. No, it's fun. It's been great. But yeah, I definitely get tired of watching as many games as I can. And, there's never an off day when you're a ninja.
No, never an off day. And as I was kind of thinking about talking to you and obviously follow you and you're, one of the best follows out there. If you're a baseball fan, I'm always like, what does his day look like? What's the setup look like? You have to eat and sleep at some point. So like, what's a general day? Is there a day where you maybe take a step back a little bit? Or are you just kind of going, full bore, 24/7 this time of year?
Today is the closest day because there are only a few games, but mostly like yesterday, I tried to take a little break. Like I tried to go grab a bourbon around the corner from my house with my wife. And I'm watching the score and I'm saying watching it was the A's game. And I noticed that Mason Miller was probably going to come in and, pitch the ninth. And I dropped everything, went back home and left my wife at the tab. That's my life.
You dropped the bourbon. What were you drinking?
I was, what? I don't know. What they do is they pour they have 5 different pours and it's all $5 pours. So whatever they have, they just circulate them. Forgot what I was drinking, but it was good. So I probably should have taken notes, but I was too preoccupied.
I mean, that's really dedication. That's dedication. Out with the wife for a drink, and you say, you know what, I got to go. I mean, it doesn't get any more committed than that.
Yeah, you know what? It actually does because I was out with my wife for dinner a few years ago, and I love this story because it's relevant to y'all. Yu Darvish was DMing me to try to get Shane Bieber's knuckle curve grip. And my wife's like, why are you on your phone? I'm like, Yu Darvish is DMing me and I thought I'd get back to him. So I get yelled at all the time, basically this time of year. Again, it's a curse and a blessing.
It is, yeah. Hopefully more of a blessing than a
It's more of
curse.
a yeah, without a doubt.
She's still with you, so you must be doing something right.
Eh,
There's
all in the off season. Yeah, I'm nice in the off
you
season.
you make up for it then.
I try.
While we're on the topic, you mentioned today being a slower day. And one of the things I wanted to ask you, I guess what popped in my mind is like, okay, who's his favorite Padres pitcher? Because there's a really interesting mix. I'll frame it to you this way. If it is say it's Sunday night baseball, so there's like one game to watch, you can kind of focus your energy. Who would you want to be on that stage if you had a chance to just lock in and really get a good look at one guy? We know like you've got an affinity for Yu Darvish, as you mentioned. Like you guys have a bond of sorts. You've had him on, and that was, I think it was right before his first season with the Padres was at least what I had seen. A really really interesting episode. And you seem to have a really good rapport with him, but your curiosity for these guys is unmatched. So I was like, who would be the one guy that he'd really want to kind of lock in on if he was given the opportunity?
That is so tough. I mean, yeah, I love you. I might not you because that would be
Oh, I appreciate
declaring this.
that. I love you too, Rob.
Oh, this is so sweet. Yeah, I Dylan Cease I've had on a million times, and he's a great dude. But you know what? I would love a home plate view of Waldron's knuckleball. So ESPN's been doing a lot of that on Sunday night.
Mhm.
Like selfishly for content, it doesn't get much better than that. Like everybody, for whatever reason, everybody loves knuckleballs. It's because they're unpredictable, they're crazy, they're just the weirdest pitch. And in a world where everybody's trying to throw 100 plus, you have that pitch. So
Mm.
I kind of am a sucker for that. I mean, I'd love like, again, Darvish maybe to break out a knuckleball. He can throw one, right?
It's kind of a shock at this point that he hasn't, and now he's sharing a clubhouse with a guy that is like the one guy that's doing it right now, and given you his curiosity, which you just laid out, like wanting to know another guy's pitch grip for something that's at least in the family of a knuckleball. Like, who would be surprised if, in a start in June, he's got 76 miles per hour just fluttering by the plate?
Let's try and manifest that. Let's try to talk that into existence right now. You, Darvish, throw a knuckleball. Come on. Just one. I'm asking for one.
We know he's done it. He can probably throw it with both arms for all we know.
Without a doubt. He probably could throw it with his toes.
Yeah, he's a freak. Unfortunately, he's also on the 15-day IL,
Yeah. Well,
which is a little discouraging. While we're on the topic of you, as Derek joins us, how are you, Derek?
Good. How are you guys?
We're doing well. We were just talking about Yu Darvish being able to throw knuckleballs with his toes, and
Yeah, I buy it.
yeah. Oh, no doubt.
You put nothing past the guy. And so we were getting on to the topic of, obviously he's now got a little stint ahead of him, some neck stiffness. What have you seen from you so far, Rob? Because he hasn't been super you-ish.
Yeah, he goes through phases like this. His stuff is so complicated. Occasionally he overthinks too, because he's so smart. That sometimes he's just overthinking. You notice I guess pitching to Darvish the other day was what I kind of picked up on. Pitching to Ohtani the other day was what I picked up on. Was I knew what he was gonna like. I'm watching his mind work, and he was only going to throw him a fastball for bait to set up something else. He hates throwing fastballs to guys where he's trying to get them out. He's always thinking a million, like he plays like 5-dimensional chess up there. Love watching him throw, but occasionally he can overthink it and just not throw. Like he can also beat you by just throwing it by you too. And I think sometimes he just gets in those situations. I've talked to him about it. Like there was a time where he was just flipping the ball up, and he told me that somebody had told him that he thought too much and sometimes just throw it. So by throwing the ball up, he didn't think as much between pitches. He does a whole bunch of things. Brilliant guy. But yeah, I mean, he can struggle at times, just like everybody can. And when you're relying on off-speed pitches, a lot of times it's harder to command too.
Yeah, he's really, and you just talk to him, and I'll watch him around the clubhouse, and he has 3-ring binders after 3-ring binder. He's just pouring through scattering reports. Like he's got so much information, and what's amazing is he organizes and processes all of it in such an efficient way. But is it a case where he is so smart and he does prepare so much and he gets so much information that sometimes he's maybe not quite sure which information to apply in that moment?
That's my instinct. Or he finds himself between pitches, or he can't land the pitch that he really wants to land. I view him like, I've compared him to an artist that needs like every color on his palette, like every single color. And he wants the exact right color to use in his painting, as opposed to some guys who are just like big brushes. You have the Jackson Pollock guys that just, Dylan Cease, just big, broad brushes. And then you have Yu Darvish who's looking for the exact right thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting. The neck thing, what do we make of that at this point? Anything to be concerned about?
Hopefully not. Like I don't know all the details about it, but I mean there's always these little bumps and bruises. Probably just wants to be 100% healthy to help the team and just take a little bit of time out of it.
Now, you can speak in generalities about that, though, Rob. Neck injuries with pitchers typically is not something that's a precursor to something else, or is just he slept funky and he's got to give it a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it can be. When I sleep funky, I still do my show every day, but
you are a warrior.
I'm a warrior. Like, yeah,
you're a ninja, damn it.
Right, exactly. I don't have to move like Yu Darvish does. I am not calling Darvish out on this. 100% the right thing to do, because again, you think about it, he wants to be perfect. No pitcher is healthy the entire year. Everybody's got their bumps and bruises. You might as well get healthy now versus making adjustments. What happens, it's not a severe injury typically, unless it's, disc or something like that. But it can turn into something bad in that you start adjusting your mechanics for your injury to not hurt yourself. And now all of a sudden you're in a slump, just like hitters are getting slumps because they're trying to do too much, or they change something and it changes something else and change. Pitchers can do that too. So you don't want to develop bad habits, and 100% just get healthy. We want a Yu Darvish at full strength.
I was going to say, you should, slide into his DMs, see if you can get the real story for us, Rob. He's been getting hit hard since the very beginning. Velo, a tick down. He is 37 years old. He's got that contract. I think there are natural questions about, okay, is this age getting to him? How do you envision Yu Darvish aging, especially for our purposes of Padres fans, into his, 41 or whatever, wherever this contract gets him?
I mean, dude's got 12 different pitches. I'm not that concerned about a couple of miles an hour of velo drop, because he can make adjustments and he has the tools to do it. It's when a guy is solely a flamethrower that they lose that flamethrowing ability. That makes it a little tougher. I think Darvish, being as smart as he is, I expect to make adjustments, but it's tough to do during the season sometimes. Like, you find yourself not having your best ball and you're like, okay, what do I got to do now? I expect him to be able to make that adjustment fairly quickly, but it's not instantaneous. It's hard to do in game when you're realizing that you're not getting the ball by guys and you have to make that adjustment. Sometimes you don't realize it. Maybe taking this little step back will help him figure out a plan, or help him. Maybe he's been suffering through something for a little bit and got tired of it and is like, I want to be healthy. I don't want to get hit. Let me take the time now to get to do what's best for the team and get healthy.
And what's crazy is his ERA is still just a tick over 4 with a strikeout an inning. Like, this is bad, Yu Darvish. And it's still something you take, maybe not as a number one, but you take that in your rotation pretty much any day of the week.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, definitely.
How about this Michael King guy, Rob?
I freaking love Michael King. I loved him before he was there. I love him as a reliever. I love him as a starter. Dude has nasty stuff. He's a great dude, for one. But also just filthy stuff. Can attack you east-west, north-south. Change up, absolutely filthy, and probably doesn't get the credit from anybody that it deserves, as far as just like one of the nastiest pitches in baseball. Filthy sweeper. His command, you saw a couple times where he was having some issues with that, and that's what I was waiting to see. Like, I want to see the Michael King with double-digit Ks like we saw yesterday. That was the guy that I expected to see for a while. But yeah, 100%. Just he's legit. That's not a fluke. He could do that regularly for y'all.
That's really why the Padres wanted to make sure that that was the guy they got in that Juan Soto trade. It's, I think finding consistency for him has been a little bit of an issue early in the season, but he's seen that aside from Dylan Cease, it's been really everybody in the rotation because of the Korea trip. He starts in the bullpen. He has to come back and then he's in the rotation, in the starting rotation. He has a couple of weird scheduling things. And by the way, you're also learning a brand new clubhouse, a brand new coast, a brand new spring training facility. Do you think that maybe that they had a really good start against the Giants 2 starts ago, but is that maybe like this is the arrival of Michael King where everything looks like he's back on plane? He's maybe not overthinking things, trying to be linear, like he was saying after that one start against the Giants at Petco Park. And this is maybe not 7 and 10 punch outs every time, but this is the kind of guy we can get closer to seeing.
I think so. Like, I think it's actually, I did not think even that last game was the best Michael King I've seen. He had a 13K game last year. He is filthy. Like he can be, I would expect a few double-digit K games out of him. I expect a lot out of that guy. Like, I do not cut him any slack. I know that he did struggle with command when the ball moves that much, and you do, he has a little crossfire stuff in him, a whole bunch of different mechanical stuff. Sometimes it's hard to be consistent, but when he gets locked in, which he will soon, like you're up on the bump a number of times in a row, it's a long season. I always tell everybody, don't lose your mind if a guy struggles for a little bit. That just happens and they dial it in. He's a guy, once he dials it in, I would expect that almost, I hate to say it as a floor because that was a fantastic game, but that's like an average Michael King outing for me, maybe a slightly above average, but he can do better.
Yeah.
If the floor is a 0.38 ERA for the rest of the season, I'll take it.
Yeah, you should. Like, I love that guy. Like, I can't speak more highly of his stuff. He is just a filth monster. Like, really,
Filth
really,
monster.
Yeah, absolutely great.
I was looking at Savant. I mean, I do a little bit of preparation for these podcasts, and you mentioned the changeup, 0.77 batting average against, and all the expected numbers are as low as you would expect them to be. The sweeper, 143 batting average against so far this year, and I want to say there was a movement on, is it the changeup that is kind of like insane? Maybe not insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's you obviously think about the sweepers and that sort of thing, like the conventional breaking pitches, but the movement that he gets on the changeup is part of what makes it like so devastating, right?
100%. Like, I was getting comments from Padres fans watching his changeup and go, is he always this filthy? And I was like, yes. And his changeup is that pitch. People, I don't know. I think it's hard for a lot of baseball fans to process really filthy changeups. Devin Williams obviously has one that everybody, knows, but Michael King's is ridiculous, but it's hard for whatever reason. I don't know. Like, fans have a harder time processing changeups. They love sweepers. Like, sweepers, give me that big horizontal movement. It looks like a Frisbee.
The Tom Cosgrove.
Yeah, exactly. Talk about a guy that had some crazy movement, especially last year. He had one that was like 26 inches or something like that against Ohtani. I think that had the most break of any sweeper of the entire year.
Wow. Started on the outer third and hit him.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's another nasty dude.
Yeah, with King, I'm curious, like, kind of get into the weeds a little bit. He's got that interesting kind of like closed, start and delivery. Like, what does that contribute? Because he can obviously move it both ways. And you probably see, but myself, I don't see a ton of guys that kind of start the way that he does. It seems a bit unique.
Jared Weaver, I think, is the last one I can think of. That had some success.
Yeah, there are some guys that do stuff like that, and they're, when they're on, they're very tough to hit because hitters just process. They look for things that they're used to seeing. Like, as a hitter, you're looking for kind of your averages stuff. You like to bucketize pitchers and say, oh, this guy's like this guy. I had success off this guy. This is how I'm going to approach it. When you have these unique dudes, it just makes it that much harder. They have to see him a few times. And then when you have that many pitches like King does, it makes it that much harder. So a unique mechanics tied to unique pitch movement, it's a tough day for hitters when you're on. And a lot of times it's just a matter of them being patient and working walks, which you've seen. And that's where King can, like every pitcher, can get in trouble, especially with that big movement. It's harder to command.
I'm just a little surprised Padres fans are not familiar with the changeup. And we had Trevor Hoffman here for God knows how long, one of the greatest changeups of all time. We should know this by now, right?
Absolutely. And his wasn't necessarily even a movement thing. It was a slow thing. You're watching this thing coming at you and it never gets there with that funky grip that he had. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, one of the all-time greats, top 5 changeup ever, maybe? Has to be.
He's got an award named after him, so the changeup must have been pretty good.
Exactly. And it wasn't because of his fastball.
Michael King, obviously, 2 big additions to the rotation, coming over part of the Juan Soto trade, and then kind of the 11th hour deal for Dylan Cease, who's, already starting to look more like the 2022 version, which jumped out to you so far about a guy that, as you referenced, you have a lot of admiration for as well.
He's one of my favorite dudes. I've had him on a few times. Georgia guy, so he can drive over my house if he ever wants to. I'm in Georgia too. He won. So I don't know if you saw, but he won an award for the most swords last year, even in an off year. Last year was not his best year, but in all of baseball had the most swords of any pitcher in the game last year. And I had him on because MLB asked me to interview him for this award because I came up with the swords thing. And had him on talking about swords. He wrote a poem about it, and we got him a little neon light that he has. Ask him about a neon sword that he has hanging in his house. It's amazing. The award.
I haven't seen it in the clubhouse yet.
It's better than any other award. Give me Cy Young's, blah, World Series trophies.
Those are a dime a dozen.
Yeah, right. I mean, people have those. No one else has a sword trophy other than Dylan Cease.
That's awesome. But we're definitely asking about that, and hopefully he can show us a couple of pictures.
Yeah, absolutely. But dude, he is fantastic. I knew whoever got him would appreciate it. He put things together. He's a guy that I can see. If his slider's moving the right way, he's unhittable. He got it back. There was points last year where I knew that he didn't have it, and I'm like, where's that Dylan Cease slider? He needs it, and once he gets it, forget it. His curveball's also he's just a good pitcher. Electric fastball too.
Yeah.
And we forget about the fact he can top out at 99. And then he's got this knuckle curve that just drops, and his best pitch is his slider. And that whatever he calls that changeup that goes 60 miles an hour and is an absurd little thing.
And what was that? He threw back-to-back pitches. I think it was 96 and 66. Back-to-back pitches, not in back-to-back pitches. I'm like, if you're a hitter, if that's in the strike zone, just go sit down. How do you even consider thinking about trying to handle that?
We've talked about it. He said the biggest laughs he gets is when he throws this pitch that he's not even 100% sure how to throw a changeup, but he throws this weird grip and it goes really slow. And he's like, he said, those are times where I laugh the most. I'm throwing this thing 60 miles an hour and these guys are swinging at it and they're out in front by 5 feet. But yeah,
that's a swing twice.
Yeah, exactly. Total. But could you imagine that you're waiting for something coming at you in upper 90s and you get mid 60s? No one does that.
How do you describe the effectiveness of the slider? Because just looking at that again, the movement, if you're looking at movement on average, it doesn't necessarily blow you away, but that thing changes its mind a halfway or 2/3 of the way there, and it makes a sharp left turn. And obviously, the way I'm sure the way his fastball plays up has something to do with that. But what is it about that pitch that makes it so hard to hit?
You nailed it, because I think sometimes we get caught up in metrics, and I get it. Give me all the big breaking pitches because it makes my account so much more fun. So big breaking pitchers are awesome, but there's a thing with gyro sliders where you can throw it really hard and it tends to break down. It's spinning like a bullet and doesn't have that big break, that they can be really effective as well. It really matters how it fits in with the rest of your pitches. And because he's able to throw it with full conviction, he comes at you, you're thinking it's a heater coming in, and that thing just disappears. That's where the success happens. It's basically being able to repeat his mechanics and have it look like a heater. It doesn't have to have amazing spin rate or amazing, horizontal break or anything like that. We get caught up in that sometimes, but sometimes it's just about fooling hitters, right? That's what pitching's about. And repeat your mechanics, throw it hard, good things happen.
It almost looks, when he throws it sometimes, it almost looks like a cutter, because you expect that slider to have more of the downward tilt to it. It almost moves like a sweeper or a cutter does, but it's the slider. It's just, I think the uniqueness of that pitch and the way that it moves adds a lot to the effectiveness of it.
Plus, it's just his sheer when he's going right, you see just his mannerisms on the bump. He's very confident.
Mm-hmm.
He's a really nice dude, but on the mound, you can tell when it's going well. He does. I mean, it's just everything about him just oozes confidence. And when he does that, and you can see it, I think his teammates feed off it, but most of all, hitters get intimidated by it because he shoves the ball right down their throats, and they don't have time to breathe. Like, you look at him again. That we sleep on the knuckle curve, which is a really good pitch as well. I mean, that thing's filthy, but he's got so many weapons.
Let's remove curve from that and talk about my bad mother knucker as the pitching ninja. How excited are you to have Matt Waldron and the knuckleball back in baseball?
And we have a question from Nick as well.
Oh, there you go. Good. Hey, there you go, Nick. Good timing.
I will tell you that there are very few pitches that get the excitement going among baseball fans like a well-thrown knuckleball.
Yes.
And I mean, it just is, right? Like, it's this freakish pitch. It's coming in like this. You never know which way it's going to go. You see it, catchers getting the hit off their glove. Catchers have to hate it, obviously. But if you can't catch it, you can't hit it. Of course, you may not be able to know where it's going to go in the zone sometimes and all that. Like, it's just a magical pitch. But the fact that Waldron's got other stuff makes him really unique. I was asked the other day, like, what other knuckleball pitcher can also throw like 95? I think it's fun to watch him work through it and work in those knuckleballs while also working in his other pitches to keep hitters off balance. I hope he can have sustained success because we need knuckleball pitchers in the major leagues. They just have to be. Like, there has to be at least one at all times, and you all have it.
And even in knuckleball, like the movement change, the arm tunnel, the arm slot, everyone knows it's coming. You can see he throws his knuckleball differently than he throws his fastball or anything else. So, like, and he still can't hit it. That's what I love about this pitch. You can telegraph it, and it still is not going to be able to get hit. What makes it that thing that is so unique and so fun to watch?
I was hoping you'd ask that. We're all talking about the seam shifted wake, right? Like, we know that we just discovered this after how many years, hundreds of years of playing baseball, or 150, whatever the number is. We discovered that the way the ball rotates through the air, if it rotates consistently with a seam in one place, the air hits the seam and it makes the ball break a certain way. Well, when you think of a knuckleball, you don't know how much of a rotation it's ever going to get. So when it comes out of your hand, it may have none. It may have a quarter turn. It may turn this way. You can't consistently release it. And it also depends on the wind that's in the stadium that day. So many different things, and where the pitch actually starts shifting from its axis. But if you get a ball that's just turning a tiny bit, the air kind of hits the seam as it's coming in, and it makes it random because we don't know where the air is going to catch it. So as it's coming in, if it seems like here, all of a sudden it'll catch it, and then the ball go that way. Same thing could happen in reverse. It could not happen at all. And all of a sudden it's a flat knuckleball. Even then, a hitter's like, they don't know what to expect. The catch. That's why catchers have such a hard time with it, is it may catch a seam somewhere along the way that makes a 6-inch movement difference. Then now the catcher's like, whoops, I'm going this way. And it's brutal. But again, hitters have that same problem. The ones that don't spin at all, the ones that look really pretty but don't spin, those may be the ones that get hit a ton because those are the consistent movements. The one, just a little bit of a turn, makes all bets are off. You just don't know where it's going to go. The unpredictability of it, which is what makes it look so much fun, like to people watching it, is exactly why it's so hard to hit.
Yeah, and he told me before the season, he basically, R.A. Dickey told him one full revolution before it hits the mid. That's basically what he's looking for. And, it was interesting. I think it was the Cardinals start, his first start of the season. Yeah, that Monday. Just kind of looking at some of the spin rates when he was like 300 and above, Wilson Contreras was sending it into the seats, because it looked a little bit more normal and predictable. But when it's like 200 and below, then it's like really dancing and hard to kind of line up.
He did
spin
have
rate of 1, not 1,000, just 1.
Well, Well, no, that's one rotation. Yeah. But if you watch the slow-mos of these guys throwing four-seamers and that sort of thing, and it's just him, and it's just like, it's just so funny to watch.
He had one this year that was 64 RPMs. That's revolutions per minute. So you think that's a half a rotation on the way to the plate. Exactly. So it was the fewest rotations of any pitch that was a called strike in StatCast history.
Amazing.
That's how ridiculous his stuff is.
So I saw the. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say. So to Nick's question, is there concern there with a guy like that? Now he's got the fastball. It's not like consistently 95, anything like that. But I think that's a question everybody has. This is fun. This is awesome. We love watching it. Is it sustainable?
Oh, I don't know. It's the hard part, right? Like we mentioned Darvish with the tinkering and all those different pitches. Knuckleballs are different just because it depends on the day. You see knuckleball pitchers have fantastic outings and then have even the best, the Necros, the great pitchers, Wakefield, all those guys, we'd have great outings and not great outings. The thing that I like about Waldron is he has multiple ways to get you. So if it's just not happening for him with a knuckleball, he can get you some other way. But is it sustainable? I don't know. I think you're going to see flashes of brilliance without a doubt, and flashes of just ridiculous movement from some of those knuckleballs. And then sometimes, like everybody, it's just hard to be consistent with a knuckleball. I hope it is sustainable because I root for knuckleballers more than I root for life. It's just it is so much fun. When I'm looking at the schedule and I see Waldron's pitching, it's a game I watch. So that's important. We're in an entertainment business and a winning business. He's got the entertainment factor, and I think he's got the stuff to be sustainable. But we'll see. I'm not going to, it's too early to make it.
Yes, I saw the knuckleball on an Edgertronic camera, and it looked like the Death Star.
It's
just
so
coming
cool.
out. It was actually really cool looking. His next start's at Petco Park. His next start after that will be at Coors Field. There is no air or air friction at Coors Field. Is that the knuckleball neutralizer? Because it is for every other damn pitch.
I would think so. Like I don't want to see that there. And I hate their camera angle for one. I'm sorry, Coors Field, but your camera angle is not my favorite. So like I love y'all's camera angle. Great. Give me guys closer up, level with the field so I can see the movement. So I do think that's a problem at Coors Field. Like the air, you don't know what effect that's going to have. I'm sure it doesn't help the knuckleball. I'm hoping it. I don't know. Like I think that's a tough call.
To round out the rotation, what have you seen from Joe Musgrove? There's so much I want to get to. I want to get to Yuki Matsui. I want to, Jhony Brito. There's different guys. If you got anything more on Cosgrove or even kind of some of the minor league arms, I don't know how much you're able to track those guys. But just a quick word on Joe Musgrove. Any observations from him so far, and what's kind of been a bit of an uneven start?
Yeah, he goes through periods like this. I mean, the man can spin a baseball with the best of them. Like he's both his curveball and slider are plus pitches. He works his butt off. He understands what he's doing, but you can struggle. Again, guys with big movement can struggle bigly when they don't have the release point exactly right. I've seen signs of like he's had some filthy pitches, but then also has sometimes where he'll lose it. Serve balls up sometimes, but I don't see anything big that anybody should be concerned about. Again, it's a long season. I know we get these short little snippets and everybody wants to make a judgment right away. This guy's washed. I had Seattle fans wanting me on because of Castillo. They were panicking, and then Castillo comes back and looks like Castillo. I'm like, dude, it's a long season. This happens. But every year it's one guy, and then all of a sudden they get in the Cy Young race later in the year and people forget about it.
Well, we don't know about that with Blake Snell at all.
Exactly. Yeah. That's a great example of a guy that I picked it up. Like, I think there was a point last year where I was watching his starts going, I don't know if everybody realizes this, but this dude could win the Cy Young Award. And I was just looking at it like that was back when his ERA was like 3 something. And he put together a couple good starts. And like, I'm seeing it out of him. Like you see that stuff. And he just broke baseball with his ability to not care if he walked people, which would give everybody watching a heart attack.
Mm-hmm. Including Derek.
Lord, I had heart attacks watching it. Like, you're not supposed to do this, but yet he did, and he knew his stuff. When you have we have multiple pitches with ridiculously high whiff rates, you can get yourself in trouble and get yourself out of trouble. But it's also tough to dance on that knife's edge the entire year and get away with it. He did, but is he going to do it again? Maybe. But it's, that's a tougher thing to call than somebody that has elite command, Jacob deGrom or something like that.
It's such a hard watch, though, for him to go 0-2 and then walk a guy on 9 pitches. It's like, oh my God, just throw it in the strike zone, please. Your stuff's so good.
Dude, I know it. Like I've heard it all last year. Like there's a reason why people didn't want him to win the Cy Young Award. They're like, that's not pitching. He's walking too many guys. Like, pitching is not allowing runs. And he did it better than anybody. Now, there's nothing about a Cy Young Award that says you can't give the entire fan base heart attacks every time you're out, which, hey, that happens.
I think it's more fits of rage than heart attacks at this point.
Yeah, I totally get it. And, I love my guys with pinpoint command. Give me all the Greg Maddoxes, the George Kirby's, the guys that don't walk anybody. They're awesome. But it's also fun to watch guys with 50% whiff rates on 3 pitches. That's pretty neat too. And there's just not a lot of them. There's one Blake Snell, and slider, curveball, changeup all had insane whiff rates, and he knew that. So he knew eventually someone's going to swing at it and whiff, but it doesn't make it any less rageful. I get it. We should have a counseling group for this. The Snell recovering walker thing. Yeah, I definitely can understand that.
We got a few more minutes with you. I feel like you must love Yuki Matsui.
I do. Number one, I love the influx of Japanese pitchers. I just think there's a whole, in Japan, the splitter is an art form. It is the national pitch. Here we stopped throwing it for a while. So we're just getting back into throwing splitters. They've evolved it into things that they can do. They can have it break multiple ways, all sorts of stuff. And the fans, I have a ton of Japanese followers that are unbelievable baseball fans. They root for their team. They root for a team that their pitcher's on. They're polite fans that understand the game a ton. And Matsui is one of those guys, another guy that every time he's out, if I can find anything, I will put it out there, because number one, I love getting stuff back for the fans in Japan who want to see how their guys are doing. And two, just watching nasty splitters, that's another pitch that I really enjoy, and I hope everybody out there enjoys. He's an electric guy, fun, doesn't do it with obscene velocity, just knows how to pitch. And, we need guys like that in the game.
What is it about the Japanese ball? I keep hearing this. It's tackier, and then the split comes here. It almost is more effective. How big a difference truly is that, especially for that kind of pitch?
It's definitely a difference. I'm not sure. So you hear multiple things. One is the ball's a little smaller. So some guys struggle right away with ball size and making sure they can, get their grip the way they want to work. I talked to Senga when he first came over. It was never a velo thing with him. It was trying to figure out like how to grip it the right way, with both the ball being a little less tacky, but more the size of the baseball he was having a hard time with. Once they get it, it can be filthy, but you have to make that adjustment. The other thing, the biggest difference to me, and I've heard this from a number of Japanese players and fans, is the way we attack hitters here versus in Japan. In Japan, it's a lot like we used to be here, where you'd had to hit corners, you'd have catchers spot you up and go, basically you had to hit your spot. We've learned here that good stuff or great stuff down the middle just plays. If you can throw your best stuff, compete in the zone, and then let the pitch grip, let the ball come out of, let the ball drop out of the zone or move or whatever. Catcher set up more down the middle, throw it. I think we have a little bit ahead. We're a little bit ahead of the curve there, where they're still trying to dot you up, and here we're letting pitchers stuff eat. So that's one reason why you see folks come over and be a little more successful with the splitter. They're not trying to aim it. You're just throwing it down the middle and letting it do its job.
Now, is that partially also because of an offensive shift? I heard Yuki Matsui the other day say the biggest difference between what he's seen here and in Japan is with 2 strikes. In Japan, guys are shortening up and just trying to hit a single. Here, they're still swinging for the fences. So with the premium put on power, and now strikeouts, really, they're not frowned upon anymore here. Is that maybe also breeding I'm just going to throw it right down the middle because you're still going to swing out of your shoes and try and do too much with it anyway?
Yeah, and it's also breeding the reason why that splitter is even more effective sometimes here is, you can try to put your bat on the ball. If you're trying to hit it out and you're thinking that thing's a heater, forget it. Like, you're just going to be swinging over it all day. And that's the beauty of a splitter in general, is it looks like a heater coming out. You're seeing kind of the fat part of your hand. It's not like the skinny part when you're on breaking pitches. You're seeing the ball come out like that. So hitters are geared up for a heater, and they're getting a splitter. They tend to swing over it. There are some absolutely fantastic arms that have come over, and he's one of them. But you see Yamamoto, and then you have Roki Sasaki eventually coming over, who's going to break baseball, and then it's over. Like, when he's here, forget it. It's done.
And AJ Preller even name dropped him in public at least once. So maybe he'll break baseball at Petco Park. I wanted to ask you your 5 favorite pitches on the Padres staff, but I wanted to give you an opportunity. If there's anybody else in the system that piques your interest, that you're excited about, that you have some nugget on, I want to at least give you an opportunity to say that. If we feel like we've kind of tapped into your resources as best as possible, that's great, and I'll let you go with your top five pitches.
Yeah, let's go to the top 5. I did want to give a shout out. My son actually lives in San Diego now, makes it to Petco Park, so that's a good thing.
What does your son have a name?
He does. It's Jack, and he works Deloitte, but is based now in San Diego. So
nice. Welcome to town, Jack.
Yeah, exactly.
Glad you're with us.
Tip of the cap to Jack. 5, feel like, you know what? You're putting me on the spot here, because I
am putting you on the spot here.
That's fair. I'm going to put one place in the top 5 has got to be Waldron's knuckleball. It just has to be. I love King's changeup, so we're going to get that in there. Something that Yu Darvish throws. Let's go with his. Oh, are we going to go cutter? Let's go with his cutter.
I was going to say his cutter is, when it's on, it's really effective, and he loves throwing it.
Yeah, if you notice, he kind of did that to Ohtani the other day too, and set him up, and then tunneled that cutter with his fastball, which was great. I think when Dylan sees his slider, it has to be on there. But I also love that slow changeup just for hilarity's sake. But let's put his slider, like, he's known for his slider, and he's arguably the best slider in baseball.
And it's got a poem written for it.
It's got a poem written for it. He did write a poem on swords too, which you got to ask him for, or I can send it to you after the game.
I look forward to that. Yes.
Yeah. He did write a poem for me after he won the sword award. And last, I think I have one spot left.
Well, one spot left. Yeah.
You know what? Let's go out and pick Cosgrove sweeper, because when it's on, it's a unique pitch, and it moves 2 time zones, and anything like that has to be on a pitching ninja list.
Can I throw an honorable mention in there for Robert Suarez's 4-seam?
Absolutely. I almost spit that one out too, because
doing some heavy lifting.
Oh,
that's all he throws now, and apparently nobody can hit it anymore. It's fantastic.
He throws gas, and he's another guy that I think I don't know that everybody watches him. But he blows folks away. He just throws absolute cheese. Like, love watching him pitch. And my mental Rolodex was trying to work him in the top 5, but I also had to give, I'm looking for guys that when Cosgrove throws that ridiculous, something that breaks 2 feet, I'm looking for that, but also 100 miles an hour.
Also 100 miles per hour.
Yeah, sitting at 101 is usually fun.
You'll make my account if you do that, unless you're Mason Miller, and that's an off day for you.
Rob, speaking of your account, what can you plug? What should folks be on the lookout for?
New podcast, Baseball Dojo podcast, which is kind of fun. I've got to reach out to Matt Waldron and get him on there. That would be good. I want to
You
teach
should. He's
everybody to
great.
knuckleball. He seems like a good guy. Also, probably need to get Michael King on there too, who's a entertaining guy. But yeah, have the podcast going, YouTube channel, Pitching Ninja videos, and then Instagram and Twitter, Pitching Ninja. And go buy some merch. Get a cool hat. Get a cool
Lots of
shirt.
great merch. I was actually cruising the site the other day. I mean, you guys got great stuff.
We've got to have a new San Diego shirt out soon, and it'll be fun.
I will say this. My middle child loves minor league baseball hats. And he showed me that was like, which team is this? I'm like, that's not a team. That's a Pitching Ninja. He's like, oh, no wonder. Because he's like searching through. He couldn't find it. I'm like, no, that's just Rob. He's like, oh, that makes so much sense. And like, if that was a minor league logo, it'd be the best minor league logo in all of minor league baseball.
Should I buy a team? Logo. Maybe should we buy a team and do that?
That's a great idea.
Dude.
We could be like the Savannah Bananas of the West Coast.
Yeah, heck yeah. We'll have the best pitching and no one will be able to hit. It'll be great.
Sounds like the Padres yesterday.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that hit a little too close to home, didn't it?
Rob, you're the best. Always appreciate the time. Look forward to doing this again down the road. And you're one of the best out there. You're one of the best followers. And I meant it off the top. I mean, we talk so much about pitching. I've learned so much about pitching from following you, and it's cool just to see what everybody's working with. And whenever like the Padres sign somebody or trade for somebody, and I'm doing research, inevitably a clip from Pitching Ninja comes up of them, and it's just a great way to stay informed. So I appreciate all you do.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you.
By the way, how many baseballs do you have in front of you right now? Because I've seen you pick up at least 2.
Oh, you don't? I have 1, 2, 3.
Be like the
3 and a clean fuego sitting here too. So it's like when I keep them in my hand usually because it's like those old fidget spinners or like any
nervous habit. Yeah.
Yeah. So I usually will have something in my hands when I'm talking to folks. But then when I'm talking pitch grips and stuff, I did an interview earlier today and had to go over like different grips and stuff. So
show me your knuckleball grip.
Dude, I can't throw a knuckleball. My hands. I mean, I'd love to be able to throw one. My son could for a little bit, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's why I want to talk to Waldron. I'm going to pick one up.
He says he uses a specific nail file. I don't know if Wakefield and Dickey did that as well, but he uses a specific nail file. It's that specific.
As long as he's not using it on the baseball, it's fine.
Not using it on the baseball.
The Joe Negro. What do I? Yeah, just throw it away. Exactly.
Thank you, Rob.
Thanks for having me, guys. Take care.